people, the Portmore Criminal Investigation Branch is probing the shooting death of a man and a woman in Brighton, Portmore, St. Catherine on Thursday. The deceased have been identified as 35-year-old shopkeeper Anita Mills and 40-year-old labourer Dimitri Mackenzie, both of 59 Bloomgrove Way in Brighton. Police reports state that around 4:45 p.m., the two were at home when they were pounced upon by unknown assailants who fired shots hitting them. They were assisted to hospital where they were pronounced dead on arrival. No motive has been established for the attack. Two boys, grade 9 and 10 respectively, were gunned down last night along Erie Castle Road in Stony Hill, St. Andrew. The deadly shooting took place around 11:30 p.m. Residents heard loud explosions and summoned the police. Detectives assigned to the St. Catherine North Criminal Investigation Branch are probing the incident.
If you died today, suddenly, and you had no other family, would you feel comfortable with your child being raised by the state? Would you feel comfortable with your child going into state care in Jamaica? It's a tough question, right? And you need to think about it. But it was a question I used to ask the staff of the then Child Development Agency when I was the Minister of Youth and Culture. And the reason why I asked it is because I felt for us to interrupt or to create positive development and care and love for Jamaican children, we had to treat every single child as if they were our own child. Everyone, whether they were in state care, whether they were in different youth capacities among our agencies, or whether we came in contact with them. I believe that then, even before, and I believe that today, because it takes a village to raise our children, and it will take a village to get Jamaica to where we want to get to, all of us being mothers and fathers for our children in this country. And I want you to think about what I just said, because this video is going to be very hard for you to swallow. Recently, a video surfaced on social media of 6 young schoolboys and 1 schoolgirl, most of them in their uniforms. Some of the boys were still in their khaki uniforms, and from the video clips I saw and I watched, 2 of the boys were filming the scenes. How about them camera so? One of the boys, I won't call his name, was on top of this little girl, and at this point the little girl was trying to hide her face. At that moment, or one of the moments, you heard one of the boys who was filming saying, "You get already, man, you're tired. Done now, no man, done." And when I looked into this little boy that was on top of this little girl, and I looked into all of their faces, these little boys were children. Skinny, mechanical, transactional. I don't know why they were there. The little girl, who we've learned is 30 years old, was just lying there, uniform halfway up her thigh. And I can't go into more of it because they're children. And since then, the police have arrested the schoolboys following the circulation of the video, charging them with several offenses. And according to the investigations, the group of male students had lured her there and sexually assaulted her and video recorded the acts. Very disturbing, but not alarming, because these things have been happening for a long time. Jamaica has the 2nd highest rate of femicide in the world, which per capita, which is reported by the World Bank, which is a killing of women. And you remember when the mechanic murdered his girlfriend and went straight back to work like nothing happened? You remember the man who just killed 5 of his relatives, slit their throats? He was 21. These things have been happening. But also the sexual issues have been happening, the assaults, the rapes. You read about them. I write about them. Now, in a statement by the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, the CPFSA, used to be the Child Development Agency, it said that it's providing psychological intervention for the 13-year-old victim, and that they strongly condemn these acts that are despicable that was meted out to the little girl, and that the level of violence we continue to see being displayed towards our women is concerning, and it's disrespectful, and these maladaptive behaviors are not helping our communities and our societies. And we need to teach our young men that masculinity is not the same as with abuse, that abusing a woman is not macho. Yeah, it's a good statement. And we've seen a good amount of blockbuster statements, but now what? Now what? You know, I too have been writing about these incidences for some time, both on the violence side against our women and also on the sexual assault side. But guess what? Not only on our women, on our boys too. Because I've seen videos of our boys being assaulted. But we don't want to talk about that one because in Jamaica that's taboo. So let's focus on this one. As a nation, we always react with alarm. And we continue to act with alarm at the violence and the hypersexual behavior of some of our children, which, by the way, the data will show you that the first sexual encounter for a girl in Jamaica is 13, and for a boy, it's 14. But somehow we react strongly because we think that this is not the kind of moral, self proclaimed image that our children should be having. We're the parents. But guess what? These behaviors have been happening for some time now in our society across addresses, income levels, class, school, uptown, downtown. It's pervasive, meaning it's everywhere. It's more widespread than you actually believe. And some of the families, maybe because the videos weren't released, but some of the families, you'd be surprised where it's happening. And it's wrong. It's wrong for the victim. It's wrong for the families. It's wrong for anybody who has had to go through this. And I can't imagine what this family is going through. But guess what? While the CPFSA is providing medical support, psychosocial, psychological support to the little girl, and that support is critical and it's urgent, I looked through the statement and I was listening. Nowhere in that statement did it say that it was providing psychological intervention for the boys and for their families, or whether or not that would be provided, unless I missed it. So the boys have been charged and arrested, and that's the end of the story. And from the comments that I saw from most of you on last week when I wrote an article on this, all of, well, not all, I shouldn't say that, most of the men in particular chastise the boys. And that them forget, them for just go to jail, them for lock them up, them for do this, them for do that against the boys. And that's how we have been proceeding with these incidences for some time now. So we have to ask ourselves, because guess what? I still believe that every child in this country we must treat as our own. What if we were the parent of those boys? What if we were the parents of that girl? Do we know the context of what is happening in those families? What happened that morning? What happened that week? When was the last time the CPFSA conducted a comprehensive parenting workshop? Because most of the comments that I saw from you two, it's like, where the parents them there? What happened to the parent? Where the parenting gone? When was the last time the CPFSA conducted a parenting workshop to impart parenting skills and other coping mechanisms for parents raising adolescents in this country? Well, the last time I think they did a comprehensive one was actually when I was minister, and we did those for a couple of years, and it was when that's when it was a child development agency. I don't know if they're still doing them. I haven't seen any in recent times, and that was over a decade ago. Because you see, guess what? As someone who has advanced degrees in communications, I know that one-way information can't really change a person unless that's the only information that they're getting. So if you continue to bash somebody with only one piece of information, that's how they're socialized. So you have to ask yourself in this society, what happens when behaviors are promoted consistently to our young people who don't have positive interrupters to tell them that it is not normal behavior and could very well land them in jail? So yeah, I wrote about the song Girl Cock Up Me F*** It So. I don't know if I snap a video by Skeng. And I wrote about some of the lyrics there, because me never feel no way, dog, because the next cat is there in the yard, and if she f*** around, I see him thing, dog. In other words, this popular song by Skeng is saying, look, I can do this to you, and it's okay if I film it. And guess what? If you don't want to film it, a next girl there to film it, because I saw her roll. I saw the whole of the gang roll. But guess what? This is not the only song that entertainers sing. You have some very positive lyrics out there. You have positive artists out there. You have some positive dancehall artists. The question is what really catch? And so when you have one-way communication getting to a child that is very hypersexual. Let's use this as an example. And you don't have a parent interrupting that, or you don't have positive influences saying, okay, guess what? Yeah, that song is there, but you know what? You're not for really that, right? What happens is both genders are at work here, both the male and the female, and it affects the male and the female differently. And as a nation, we have to address the reality of what is taking place and how it affects the psychosocial behavior of our boys and our girls differently. Yeah, because it affects them differently. And at this point, what should be happening before you walk in and castigate or chastise or write off those boys, we should have psychologists meeting with the boys to understand what led them to do this and whether they understood the consequences of their behavior. Only then will we begin to understand and change that kind of behavior, to get to a society where we don't have men feeling that they can beat, sexually assault, rape, videotape, and having more schoolboys end up in jail. Because I guarantee you it's going to continue that way unless we interrupt the process lovingly and with an understanding that parents need help at this point. And so we need to speak with those boys, mothers, and if they have fathers, some of them, because I understand that one doesn't, to see what has been happening in their home environments. Because what I saw in that video were children. And what I saw were children doing something that they did not know the repercussions were going to be so devastating to them with the consequences as teenagers. Do we completely write them off now as teenagers with their life completely ahead of them? Or do we try and pull it back with rehabilitation? Yeah, they did wrong, and they should have consequences for doing wrong. But who is going to take responsibility? Is it the parents, the school system, the community, the government, the television, or entertainers, the music, the church? So we can't wait until it reaches our home to tackle it and then somehow express alarm, because guess what? It's on its way. It's already here. And it's time we as adults hold ourselves accountable for the behaviors. It is everybody's responsibility because our children deserve more from us. I'm one of those parents that when I see a child doing something on the road, I stop. I talk to them. In my own constituency, I do it. I speak to mothers. I pull them aside. I ask them what's going on. I speak to fathers because you don't know the context of their lives. I remember when I saw that little baby on camera and the mother beating, and the child must have been 2 or 3, crying. And everybody went in on her. And we found her. I called the CPFSA and they found her and they spoke to me and they said, yes, Lisa, we found her and the mother is going through a lot of hardship. We have a responsibility to start doing more with our parents. We cannot, children live what they learn. You remember that? They do. And we have a responsibility as parents. If not, we will continue to walk into the future with our eyes wide shut, understanding that all of us will just throw our hands up in the air. Because, as my mother once said to me, if our children were to parent us, they would get pregnant and have us, not the other way around. And it's time that we start loving again, listening again, and becoming a parent for every one of our children. I want to express to the family of that 13-year-old girl and all the women, whether you went through it, whether you're going through it, my empathy and my sympathy if you've ever had to endure this. And I want to express to fathers and mothers of boys who you perhaps never knew that your boy children were doing this. I want to ask you to allow yourself the patience to work with your boys. I want to ask the state to send psychologists in to those boys who you have arrested. And let us start having that conversation as a Jamaican family.